All right, guys, I'm going to go through the gameplay real quick, and then I'm going to talk about what I see here. I'll make sure to pause and go back if I see something important that I need to talk about. So, starting off right in the heat of things, because I skipped around a lot in this gameplay. So actually, this ultimate Trans Am here, it lasts for 15 seconds. I counted it to make sure, and it does some really, really cool things. As you can see, it's charging up its dash skill here, and what this does is it extends the damage a lot more than it normally does. It normally does 350 damage. With this, it does 600, which is kind of insane considering some characters only have 800 HP. So on top of the huge amount of damage, it's also doing a stun. And as you're going to see, this Sazabi here is going to get absolutely destroyed at that. And the thing about that in particular that's really strong is that not only does this ability have a much lower cooldown, really high damage, and a stun on it, is that because of the Trans Am lasting 15 seconds, you could feasibly use it 3 times during this ultimate, which if you're using it effectively means 3 kills. This character is very, very, very similar to Genji in Overwatch, and honestly, this character is just so much better, just in every way. It's the best character in the game for sure, just on how powerful it is, how high the damage it is, how much stun ability it has, how much displacement ability, as you're about to see, that it has. It's actually insane. So, absolutely destroys this character. The slash ability does like 250 damage too. On top of that, it's insane. So yeah, got a nice little mobility there. Easy escape whenever you need to. Playing for opportunities. And this is something that I was going to talk about. You're about to see here. Not only do you get a nice little easy engagements from the side here, where he dashed up and he charged up his ability, and now he's hitting this Ashimar from the, sorry, I think it's a Marseille from the side, where it's not expecting it, and he's not taking damage just by standing out main and getting hit from damage that's coming down the line of fire. But it enables him to engage in a way that it's going to push them into his own team. So as you can see here, hits, and with the slash ability, since they're already stunned, it has an added effect of doing an extra stun on top of that, and so you're getting a stun on them. But on top of that, you're knocking them back into your own team. So even if they nerf the damage on this character, which they probably won't because it's pre-release, unless they get huge feedback during the network test coming up, but this is really, really, really high potential here. And the other thing about that is the slash ability is on a 4-second cooldown, while the dash charge ability is on an 8-second cooldown. So what that means is that you can effectively get that going twice before you use the dash ability again. So what you can do is use your regular engagement, your regular setup of staging, which means, getting good position, and then hitting the dash, slashing them into your team, securing a kill that way, whether through the damage or through the displacement. Because assuming when you'd actually be wanting to do this, you'd be wanting to do this when your team's waiting there. None of his team are here at the moment. They're standing behind the wall, but normally they would be if you're playing better. But anyway, so you go and get this sort of a kill, and then you disengage. But what you're looking at is your slash ability is coming up in 2 seconds. Presumably, you'd still have a couple of your dashes. And here you have an option to dash in towards somebody behind them, or use your quick step to get behind somebody, and then use your slash ability to knock them into your team again. And then use whichever cooldowns you didn't use, so either your quick step or your dashes, to disengage. And by the time that comes back in and your healers have healed you up, then you have your regular set of cooldowns back again to re-engage and do the whole thing over. So the uptime of this character, if you're really playing effectively and you're not taking a lot of damage and you're playing with a healer who can actually heal you, is insane. Just constantly running in back and forth every 4 seconds. So he secures the kill, but he wants to get the finish on the down, and he feeds really, really hard to do that. You don't ever want to be trading your life for that of someone who's downed, because it doesn't actually benefit you as much as you would think. Yeah, I know you get greedy, you want to get the kill, but don't go for it. You're trading someone who can't move around and can't use abilities for your life in that situation. So just be really careful and play from distance, shoot them in the head. You will frequently get the kill that way. You don't need to go feed to do that. However, in this next gameplay clip, the Exia player does something really, really good here, which is not stand out in the open while using charge. I know it sounds really simple, but it does slow you down, so you need to be careful about how you're using it. And so what he does here is he uses the ability as he's walking around the corner, and by the time he sees his target and the target is able to see him, he's already dashing onto it. Dashes, slash, killed. Easy. And that'd really be as simple as that. Just in every form of gameplay you're ever playing, any character, but particularly on these low HP, high mobility, high damage based characters, you always want to be playing to ensure that you're not avoiding cover. You always want to be using it as much as possible, because damage that you tank randomly is way more substantial than other characters. Like if a Sazabi takes 200 damage from an RX-78 shot to the body, it's 1/7 of his HP, plus, and he has a shield on top of that. But if a Exia takes it, it's over a quarter of its HP, and it's getting towards the point where it's going to die randomly to other spam damage. So always be using cover. It's a really high level skill. That's how you get really good at video games, but you really need to make sure that you're doing that effectively to play the game as good as you possibly can. So in this situation, they are currently pushing onto the objective, the attacking team, which is the ones we're watching right now. And what you're seeing here is they're more or less finishing up kills. This Pale Rider player got downed, and he's probably going to die, but they're still winning the fight because they're currently capping a lot of the objective. So all they really need to do is not do what they're about to do that I will show you. Securing this kill is fine on the Sazabi, and he goes back to his team. Perfect. This is fine. You have someone with you who's alive. He could probably resurrect the Sazabi here. I'm not sure if resurrections lock you into an animation, but I don't think so. I bet you they're cancelable. I've never actually seen it happen. But he ends up feeding. He ends up pushing out here and dying. So what you want to do here is just stand on the point. This is kind of a high level concept, and it's not unique to Exia, but when the enemy is, when you're playing on attack and you have control of the objective in this position, so you're capturing the objective, you don't have to go anywhere. Instead of just running around and feeding for kills, you want to be positioning better, you want to be getting your HP back, you want to be playing to control angles of the map, and you want to be playing control choke points, which is what he's looking at directly right now. And so if he hadn't run forward and just died, he would actually be in quite a good position. And the same goes for being on defense. If you're on defense, it's the same thing, but more consistent. You don't actually have to be like controlling the game. So here, as I mentioned in my other video, I really like this section of the map, nice and open, but it has like areas you can dive from. But with this nice openness, what you're looking at is you're looking at an enemy GM sniper 2 potentially. On this section of the map, there's going to be a good chance you're going to run to one of them. And while it's a good idea to try and poke from long range with Exia's primary fire to get your ult charge, which is really good because the ultimate's really, really strong, you have to be careful not to stay too long because you will oftentimes just die. If your character doesn't do as much damage as the enemy characters does from range, you have to avoid fighting against them from range. It takes discipline, but it's what you have to do. And instead of just running around and feeding like he was doing, like I said, this gameplay keeps skipping around. I'm not doing it. But you can play on the corners or in the sides of the map. And if his team had been playing closer and he was able to play where he's supposed to be, he could already be on the RX-78 finishing it off. The RX-78 seems to be split from its team, and that's where an Exia player wants to be to kill things. As strong as it does have a low HP, and so if you're just taking fights against groups of enemies, you will die. You'll probably trade, but you'll die. That's not what you want to do. So that's a better way they could have played. Hit your cooldowns. Don't miss them. But that's nitpicky considering I don't know how long these people had played at this point. Another really good instance of using cover to dash. Hits it. He doesn't secure the kill here because the way that the primary fire is really wonky. I had to look at it for a while to like see exactly how it works. But what it does is it's a 3 burst, but it doesn't burst when it's supposed to. The first one goes out as soon as you press the button. It is actually a hit scan ability. It is not a projectile. I am almost 100% sure about that. And so what you'll see here is the first one goes, but then the second one throws right as you've reached back. The animation does not fit when the daggers go out at all. So the second one is just hit right now, but he thinks the second one is throwing like right now. And so he's not there to track it. And so he misses the kill. And so when you're playing the game and you're playing Exia, you have to learn what it is, but just know it's also a tracking ability. So you have to make sure that you're consistently tracking the enemy once you fired your first shot. First one on the person, and then the next one's you have to track them with it. He dies here because he just doesn't know where he is, doesn't know where the enemy team is. Like I talked about while he's wanting to use the map, he ends up out here in the middle of nowhere, and because he's out here in the middle of nowhere, he ends up dying to a random stun. So here you guys are going to see a mechanical error that the Exia player does, where he attempts to use his dash ability without being at the right height for it. He might run out of dashes, I'm not sure, or he just messes up because he doesn't have a good experience with the character yet. But then you're going to see him play very intelligently, but then make another mechanical error. So here it is. Dashes in, and he uses dash ability, and yeah, as you can see, he had run out of dashes as he comes up here, has none, so it means he can't hover while he's in the air, which means he can't use his charge ability like he wants to. So he misses it, but he uses it to regain the high ground. And as a side note, you also aren't charging dashes while you're using the charge dash skill ability. You aren't getting your thruster gauge back. And so what that means is you have to be careful about how you're using your charge secondary attack also. Here, he has the ability to run it down into those, I believe, 3 people and go die. Doesn't matter how strong you are, if you run to 3 people, you will die. However, he doesn't do that. And instead, he plays his distance, waits for them to get a little bit to the point where they start feeling kind of safe. And then when they're safe, he goes behind them and engages on a character that's not paying attention to him and is a character that would like to play at a longer range than Gundam Exia. For the record, for everyone who is playing a character that is a medium to long range, you always want to be playing against these sort of characters at distance. It sounds obvious, but really the way to beat characters like Gundam Exia and Zaku and Barbatos is to play in positions where you can see them before they get close to you. If you knock them down to a half HP from them just engaging into you and then dodge them for like half a second, they will die before they're able to kill you. Even if they're playing really mechanically well, if they're not coming from a good place where they can see you from a really close range before you're able to poke them out at distance, they will, yeah. So make sure that you, as the defending player, the mid to long range player, are doing that. This is his cooldowns. Part of it's due to the way that it's just such a wonky ability for the regular things, but the primary fires are strange. You'll have to get used to them when you're playing them. But like I said, good outplay to go behind them. As a flanker character, you always want to be making sure that you are going from the side or behind the enemy. Your advantages are in mobility and surprise and high bursts of damage, not sustain. Exia will lose to other characters if they're able to dodge some of its cooldowns, particularly its charge ability, and then they're able to just poke them out. Particularly something like a Pale Rider, for example. If a Pale Rider is able to dodge its first ability, then it'll just drop its health back afterwards, and the Exia won't be able to deal enough damage to kill it. This is assuming it's not ulting. If it's ulting, then have fun. If you're looking for some more info about Gundam Exia, then make sure to check out this Gundam Exia and Marase ability information video right here. In it, I talk through the abilities, talk about some gameplay strategies, and we watch a little bit of gameplay in that one too. I also made 6 Mobile Suit Hero guides, so make sure to check them out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate all of you, and I will see you guys later. Peace.